Courville. I am from Montreal in Canada. So I have a background, I have a bachelor's degree in kinesiology and a master's in biomechanics, so very sciencey background. And then I recently completed an MBA at the Copenhagen Business School. Following that, I did come back to Canada in the end, and then I've been working in consulting ever since. It's a two-part question in my mind. So for the reason why I chose the Copenhagen MBA is a few reasons. I had always had a dream to go study in Europe, being Canadian. I was used to North American standards. And I was looking around European schools, I was talking to different people, and everyone kept telling me, Copenhagen Business School is it has a good reputation, it's got quite the name. So I looked into it, I looked into the program, and I went, wow, this program is impressive in that it's a small cohort. We were 41, I believe, in my cohort. You get a lot of hands-on experience and so on. So I thought, this is a fantastic program. I really want this. Plus, I told myself, Copenhagen is not a bad place to live in for a year. So it's fantastic. The lifestyle and everything suited me. So that was one reason why I chose the Copenhagen MBA. And then the concentration on entrepreneurship, I had always been interested in startups and, how do you go from an idea to an actual startup and eventually a scale up and so on. And so I had no experience. I had, worked on a couple of projects with startups through consulting, but I had never really seen the whole process. And so that's why I chose that specialization. Previous to the program, I was in consulting. I'm in life science consulting, so very sciencey background. It worked very well for me. I loved consulting. I loved everything about it. The only thing is that I found that I was lacking the business acumen and business sense of things. You can learn about it on the job, but I found I just needed a boost and I needed a different way of thinking. And so through the Copenhagen MBA, I learned a completely different way of thinking and of analyzing problems and looking at different problems. As I said, I had a science background. I was very used to looking at the nitty-gritty and looking at the details, but I find that I've learned to look at the big picture and see how different pieces fit together. So that's helped me in that sense. I don't know if it's a skill per se, but I guess it is kind of, in that, like I was just mentioning, it really did teach me a different way of thinking. So I think it taught me how to assess a problem differently than what I would have done before. I would have gone, focus, zero in on one thing and focus on that. Whereas I find that it's taught me to think outside the box and look at the big picture, look at how the pieces fit together and how one thing can lead to another and how they can impact one another, and just basically the global way of thinking. To a certain extent, I do believe that my internship definitely helped with my career and helped with my thinking of what I want my career path to look like. So I had a dream internship. So I interned at a company called Health Tech Hub Copenhagen, which is an innovation hub that helps life science startups. So basically digital health tech companies with startups, scale-ups, and so on, and it's helping them. They're basically a connector between these startups and the government and different health agencies and so on, just to really help get digital health tech to the forefront. I'd always been interested in that kind of technology, especially in a thing called digital therapeutics, which are basically a software as a medical device. And to me, it's the next big thing, but I'm biased. I love it. I'm very much interested in that. And through my internship, I found that one, technology is definitely here to stay, and it is growing. And when I say here to stay, I mean in healthcare. It's growing in importance. And so I find that with my internship, I've learned how to look at it differently. In that with Health Tech Hub Copenhagen, they're basically connectors, and I've learned that it's super important to have the right people talking to the right people. You as one individual person can't do much, but if we all work together, then you can do so much more and achieve great things. And I think I kind of have taken that into my career, in that, if we collaborate with one another, we can do fantastic things. So I've definitely taken that with me. Although I don't work directly in sustainability, I thought it was super important to have that as not only in the background of every discussion, but an integral piece of every discussion, just because we can't keep going the way that we're going. And like I said, I'm not working directly in sustainability. I'm not in a sustainability department, but I do think it's important that other departments know what's going on in the sustainability department and that you have a voice for those people. So you have people that are, on board with what's going on, even if it's not directly there. So that's really why I thought it was super important for me to learn about that and consider that in my my career. Off the top of my head, I can't remember. I think we were 41 students from like 20 different countries, something like that. It was so fun because it made class discussions really interesting. So we would talk about one problem. And as I said, I'm Canadian. I have one view of the world, right? But then we were having discussions and then everyone else was going, oh yeah, but in my country we do this, or like my part of the world we think that. And it just made for such an enriching experience because we all come from different cultures, different languages, and so on. So we just got to share so much. And, outside of classrooms, it was fun too, because we got to celebrate everyone's holidays. So that made it a lot of fun. It was actually one of my deciding factors. It was really important to me that it be a 50-50 split or thereabout. I think it's really important that we, listen to one another and that we have equal voices in that sense. So I didn't want to have, an imbalance in that sense where, the smaller number gender would have to, speak louder and so on to be heard. I really wanted it to be 50-50, and I thought it was a great experience in that sense. Oh, that's tough. I think I've spoken about it. Really, the most valuable was the way of thinking, the way of analyzing problems, the way of assessing different things. Like in all the classes that I took, we got so much, not only knowledge and information, but it was different ways of tackling problems, different ways of working with different people that you're not used to working with, not only in terms of, different cultures, but different personalities, different like work backgrounds. So in that sense, I think that's really the big takeaway for me was I am now more confident in how I can tackle problems. I think the number one thing is get involved. So it's a small program, which is fantastic. It is the best part of it because you'll not only get to know your classmates super well because you're 40, but you also get to know the administration and the teachers and so on. And it's such a close-knit community. But I think it's also important to get involved. So I was one of the student representatives, which means that I was able to talk, between my class, the administration and so on, and give our opinions and so on. And it just made it a much more enjoyable experience. I really felt like I got, the maximum what I could have gotten out of that program. It wasn't just I'm showing up to class and then I'm leaving at the end of the day. It was really, I was part of the program, I was involved in it. And then my second piece of advice, of course, is you're in Copenhagen, get a bike around the city. It is the best way to experience that city because that city is magical. So yeah.